All those who are holding tickets outside will get in as fast as they can. I'm speaking out to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking to the crowd on the outside, who seem to be standing rather reluctant to come in, and we're going to start this very soon.
Welcome back to Worthy. My name is John.
And I'm Ben.
And today, it is a very special day because we're honoring and talking about the 95th Academy Award nominations.
Yeah!
The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences is gathering to honor the best films released in 2022. The 95th Academy Awards will air on Sunday, March 12th, 2023, and will be hosted by Jimmy Kimmel at the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles, California. So, right off the top, Ben, what did you think of not only the presentation, the kind of live stream? We didn't obviously watch it live. We were both working, but what did you feel about the little bit of live streaming that they had for the nominations, and what are your overall opinions of the Oscar nominations this year?
I was actually watching part of it this morning.
Cheeky.
Yeah. I woke up it was like at 9 o'clock, I think it started. So I was like, let me remember to watch because I was up at like around that time. Totally forgot. It was like 9:05. I'm like, crap. Go right to Twitter and start looking at everything. So it was awesome. It was a great, really cool presentation. I thought, was it Allison Williams and Riz Ahmed? They, just like two people in Hollywood, good faces. Allison Williams being in Megan, Riz Ahmed winning an Oscar last year. So, showing kind of like
combination.
But it's like a new face of Hollywood type of thing. But
what a funny combination.
But I thought it was a great time. I love This Morning. I love knowing what gets nominated. I'm wearing my Oscar shirt that John got me from the Academy Museum when he visited. Yeah. So peep that swag. And I love today. I'm excited to break everything down. As like the 10 minutes before I jumped on to start recording, I was like low energy, and then within 5 minutes I was like, let's go, and I had nothing.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's always a great time to see the nominations, see the kind of surprises. For me, there were kind of less surprises than I'm usually used to. Maybe I'm like more in the vein than even the past couple of years that we have been. So maybe that's kind of why that there wasn't the big snubs for me, other than, of course, the Batman, which we'll definitely talk about. But it was an interesting one. I like the award presentation or the nomination presentation this time around. It seemed a little more relaxed and simplistic, and they weren't trying to do any kind of crazy bells and whistles because it isn't the show. It's just a kind of informational dump for us to kind of digest before March 12th when we get to the actual Oscars. So if there's nothing else you want to add off the top here, Ben, I think we should jump in and start at the very bottom of the 95th Academy Award nominations.
Yeah, John, let's start it out and let's jump all the way down to Best Sound. Nominees we have here are Top Gun Maverick, Elvis, The Batman, Avatar: The Way of Water, and All Quiet on the Western Front. And as we're going to kind of break down these categories, me and John are going to give the film that we want to win and the film that we think actually will win in this category. So, John, what's the film you want to win for Best Sound, and what do you think is the film that will win for Best Sound?
Well, right off the top, like I said, I love The Batman. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, and The Batman had some incredible sound design, and I really love the immersive world that they built of Gotham and the amazing sound design of not only just the world that we're in, but also the amazing tools and gadgets, and of course, the iconic new Batmobile that we have. So I went with The Batman. That's who I would want to pick. That's probably who I would personally pick if I had the choice. But I think Top Gun Maverick is going to sweep some of these technical categories, and I think it's going to win Best Sound. Ben, what do you think is going to win Best Sound this year?
So we actually have the same exact picks. I want The Batman to win, but I think Top Gun Maverick will win. The Batman, we got to see that in Dolby Cinemas, which is the ultimate sound experience, and just the way the film was mixed, all the different like sound designs and edits that were made into it were so technically precise, and it was just amazing to listen to. But Top Gun was also a great time. I'm not going to take anything away from that, and I think that is just the choice that everybody's going to make, because of the craziness, the effects that goes into the movie, and how real it felt. I mean, it was real, but just how great of a movie it was, and definitely the sound was a huge part of that, especially that opening sequence when he's trying to go to 10 was a Mach 10, and just like you felt your own heart beating as the plane that he's riding is like just about to hit that like point where it's not going to be able to survive. And eventually, you know what happens. So Top Gun Maverick will definitely take this.
Now that it's just one category, it's simply just best sound. So it could be mixing, could be editing, or a combination of the both. And I think honestly, Top Gun is an amazing choice, and it is a great choice to pick. And I think about, you know, recording dialogue in a jet that's incredibly loud, that's in the sky, that's moving around all the nature and elements. I mean, just that alone, recording clear and precise audio, I would imagine a lot of it is dubbed over ADR, but even still, if it's that good, you don't even notice it, and it's like that authentic, then I think that goes a lot, and it goes a long way to show how great the sound design was in Top Gun.
Moving on to Best Original Score. The nominees are The Fablemans, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Babylon, and All Quiet on the Western Front. John, what did you pick for your want and will win for this category?
I want the Batman. I'm sorry.
God.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I know, man. I'm sorry. I thought we were gonna have this. I thought we would have had it this year.
It's not nominated, so I can't say it. Man, it's a tricky one because I do love the Everything Everywhere All at Once score. The Fablemans, obviously John Williams. It was really, really amazing. But I will probably have to go with what I think will win, which is Justin Hurwitz for Babylon. That would be probably my pick out of the 5 that we have here. The Banshees of Inisherin is a really great score as well. But I'm going to go with Babylon. He's already won. I believe he won for La La Land in the past, but I think it's another opportunity for him to win. It may be the only chance that Babylon even gets any sort of award in the night, but if it's not going with Babylon, my guess would probably be the Banshees of Inisherin. But Ben, who do you want to win? Who do you think will win?
Yeah, so in our little doc, I wrote The Batman, then crossed it out, and I put I want Babylon to win because it is such an original score. Justin Hurwitz is a very kind of a genius, like for as young as he is. I mean, yeah, he won for La La Land. Now for Babylon, just like this constant like that like riff, the it's so catchy, and it symbolizes like so much of the 1920s in a way. Like it feels like all the instruments are from that era, so it has to naturally have that sound in it. And because it's such a great score, it's not going to win. So the film that I think will win is, I just kind of threw a dart at the board and landed on The Fablemans. John Williams, I think today, if I remember correctly, he set the record, or at least for the person who's alive, the most nominations ever for, I think it's a person living right now. Wow. So, I don't know. Maybe because voters see John Williams' name, they know how important he is. He's getting older. People still like The Fablemans. Maybe they're just like, let's give this one to John Williams. So, this is a weird one to pick. And Babylon seems like the best choice to make, but just because of that, it won't win.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good choice. I think The Fablemans, because it could be John Williams' last chance to really ever be nominated. I think people know that this was kind of reported as his last film, even though he's now recently said that he'll make another score with Spielberg as long as Spielberg is still making films. So it may not be his last score, but I think that news has kind of already gone around. I think people know how old he is. They know that he's kind of going on one last kind of big hurrah tour to kind of show off his music and his legacy and his history. So I think that is a great choice. But let's move on to Best Makeup and Hairstyling with the nominees of All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. Who do you want to win, Ben, and who do you think will win for Best Makeup and Hairstyling?
This one I kind of went back and forth just because all of them are pretty great. This is how I eliminated it and came to my conclusion. Black Panther, as great as it is, I just think that it's not going to get all the love besides one specific category in the evening, so I crossed that out. I thought All Quiet on the Western Front, as great as it is, still another war movie, kind of seen there, done that, so cross that out. The Batman was my third choice, and the Batman, I was just like, it's still like too gritty, and some of it's like is like really great and very unique and authentic to the world, and of course the Penguin suit is a humongous feat, but I still think that's enough for it still. So cross that out. Elvis was the second choice just because of recreating Elvis's look. but that still wasn't accurate enough for me. Like, I know Austin Butler did a great job, but he doesn't look exactly like Elvis. So, you know what I mean? He's not the exact look. So I took that off, and so I ended up with The Whale. The Whale, just, it's all, Brendan Fraser's performance. And not saying that Brendan Fraser didn't do anything. Like, it's just, that's the visual. But what Brendan Fraser delivers is the emotions, the facial expressions, the eye movement. Like, that's what's underneath, and that's the great acting. But this suit is pretty incredible, and when you see it throughout the entire movie, you're fascinated by it. I know it's controversial, but it does seem like there's a lot of critical praise for it. So I went with The Whale, that I want to win and will win for best makeup and hairstyling.
So I'm going to agree right alongside you, Ben. I think The Whale will win, and I want it to win. I think you're exactly right. I actually saw this movie this past weekend, and I was really blown away by it, and especially the makeup. At first, it was kind of jarring. I hadn't seen much of the trailers. I think the only little footage that I saw was mainly a couple stills and kind of quick moments, so I didn't really know how much we're even going to see of this character or of his whole body, and really just how much they would show. And I was taken aback at first, and it took me kind of a couple minutes to get into it just because I know Brendan Fraser and I know a lot of his films and what he kind of looks like in real life and this press tour that he's kind of been going on. So seeing him, as this character, and you're right, it's the center of the film. He is the whale of this story, and he's represented in such a realistic way where I've seen the shows like 90 Day Fiance or the TLC, sorry, that's what I'm trying to think of. The TLC shows all about like My 600-Pound Life and that kind of, those kinds of shows all about like morbidly obese people. And I was kind of shocked by how just realistic and true to life it looked. And not only that, it's something that you have to sell. If you don't sell it and it doesn't look realistic and believable, the entire movie just falls apart. The entire movie just doesn't work at all. So it's a feat that they were able to pull this off and make it look as realistic as it is. And I think The Whale is going to take home the Oscar for it.
So next was Best Live Action Short. The nominees are An Irish Goodbye, Evalu, Le Pupil, Night Ride, and The Red Suitcase. John and I haven't seen the shorts, and as we hit them, we'll just kind of reiterate this. So we're just not going to give a pick for these, but excited to watch them. I always try to make an effort, and you should too, because plenty of movie theaters in your areas will show, like, within a 2-hour span, like all the live action shorts, all the animated shorts, all the documentary shorts. Great way to experience those movies, and going to the theaters is good for your brain and your soul. Gets you A's in school, kids.
But let's move on to Best Costume Design. The nominees of Babylon, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Ben, who do you think will win, and who do you want to win for Best Costume Design?
So I want Babylon to win for costume design. Being in New York City, I'm very fortunate to go to some really great movie theaters, and one of them, an AMC, has costumes from a lot of movies, like in display cases, especially for new ones. And they had the Babylon costumes there. They had Margot Robbie's red dress. They had the tuxedos. It's so classy. It's so elegant but raunchy, and everything is just so meticulous in that movie. So I want that to win, but I think what will win is Elvis. I think just the pizzazz. People love this movie. I've said it before, like Oscar voters love Elvis. So I think that this is a category where they're gonna put it in. They love all the costumes of Elvis. They love the design. Everybody's clothing in it. So like all of Elvis's clothes are iconic. All of his suits. So I think that's gonna win Best Costume Design. But John, what do you think will win for Best Costume Design?
That is a great pick, but I'm going to go with what won previously for the first film in the franchise for Black Panther, where Ruth Carter won for the original Black Panther, and I think she's going to win again for Black Panther Wakanda Forever because of Namor and his gang. The people that the kind of civilization that they build up, their amazing costumes, they are just something that we've never really seen before. Obviously, you could point to other like science fiction films, other kind of fantasy films, and say, yeah, we've seen blue people in headdresses, but I think that she goes such a long way to kind of establish this world, establish the look, from their costumes, and they're really amazing. And it's not hard to take a comic book character and kind of adapt it to be something that not only works in live action but makes it even look cooler in live action, honestly. And I love the design that they kind of use, the kind of old like kind of South American design of the characters and of the world and Namor's people. And I think it's going to go a long way. She might not win because she's already won in the past for the previous Black Panther. I think everything, everywhere, all at once could have a possibly chance of winning again. I mean, there's some really great costume designs in that movie, and a lot of the film is based around different costumes. But I think you're kind of on the money. I think Elvis has a really great chance of winning just in general. But right now, if I had to put money on it, I think Wakanda Forever is going to take it.
I think that's so interesting because that's not a thing that, just briefly looking at the costume design winners, it's not like the Oscars give it for like one movie and also the sequel. So I don't know if like the designs are just, they're great in the movie, but maybe it's just too similar in the vein and theme.
It could be
on the first one.
You're not wrong.
So that could like hurt it, but not a bad choice. But looking ahead to Best Animated Short Film, the nominees are The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, The Flying Sailor, Ice Merchants, My Year of Dicks, An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I Think I Believe It. And I think that all of these are the best named titles for any category ever. You can stack the 95th Academy Awards Best Animated Short Film just by title with any other category in Oscar history. This might win. Haven't seen any of these, but I need to see them, especially My Year of Dicks. But moving on to Best Animated Feature Film, this is a category that we are well versed in. And John, the nominees are Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. John, who do you want to win and will win for Best Animated Feature Film?
Well, I saw Puss in Boots not too long ago, and oh boy, did I love that movie. Oh my God, was that so much better than I would have ever expected. I haven't even seen the first Puss in Boots movie, but I kept hearing how great The Last Wish was. But man, I was so blown away by it, and I love the animation style. It really made it feel like a storybook. It really made it come to life, and I loved the characters and the character designs and how they use these old, storybook legends and kind of recreate them for this world. And I was just really blown away, not only by this movie, but also the animation, which I think is perfect for the Best Animated Feature Film category. But everyone's been talking about Pinocchio, whether it's the good Pinocchio, the bad Pinocchio, or some other random iteration of Pinocchio, because now anyone can make a Pinocchio film. So I really think it's Del Toro's I think it's his year. I think he's going to take it home for Pinocchio. I think he's been doing great press about how animated feature films are just feature films, and I think that's a great sentiment to kind of carry on and push animation forward. And come on, Pinocchio is just gorgeous, and it's wonderful animation. But Ben, who do you think will win, and who do you want to win for Best Animated Feature Film?
So, John, I also went to see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish a couple weeks ago, which I think we just happened to have seen together, which was a lovely evening, a lovely time. And that movie rocked. We were having a time of our lives watching that movie. Just the opening, the whole fight, I was laughing and giggling. Just some great animated sequences. The wolf in that movie is such a great villain. Like, truly like a great villain that I don't think people are giving enough credit. And again, it's like the theme of this year, that this movie does not deserve to be as good as it is. I'm going to keep saying that for like so many of the movies, and this is one of them. So I would love it to win. But the momentum behind Pinocchio, Del Toro, that seems like the obvious winner. I think I already won the Golden Globes. Del Toro is a big presence on film Twitter and very much like wanted people to experience film at the theaters, to give a lot of credit to animated feature films as actual films. And it would feel right for the Academy to kind of legitimize that by taking like a more celebrated Best Picture and Best Director winner and also giving them a Best Animated Feature Film win. So it seems like a very obvious choice. All right, moving on to Best Visual Effects. The nominees are Top Gun Maverick, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, The Batman, Avatar: The Way of Water, and All Quiet on the Western Front. Is this the first time that we are mentioning Avatar? I think it actually is. Actually, no, we mentioned it for Best Sound. but it's not going to win for that. So we're moving into the visual effects category. I'm going to make this one crude joke that maybe Avatar should have been the best animated feature film. I don't know. Anyways, just saying. Moving on. John, what do you want and what do you think will win for best visual effects?
I think it's got to be Avatar: The Way of Water. I mean, come on. I saw Variety is like leaning towards Top Gun, which, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad choice. It's really believable CGI. It's so great that the majority of the shots probably use visual effects and you would have no idea, and that's how good they are. But come on. We're talking about the man who has given us 3 now billion-dollar films. Unbelievable. And it's for a damn good reason. He creates very, very believable worlds, and the Avatar: Way of Water is unreal. And I know, yes, the joke is it's an animated film, yada, yada. Well, there's live action performances in there, and that's how good it is that they can immerse you in a world that has both these live action characters and these completely digital characters. And not only that, now he brings it up to the next level of introducing water and all these different technical elements that you kind of have to battle with. And there's just scenes in that final battle on that sinking boat that just are so unbelievably real looking that it just kind of, man, it makes you kind of question reality in moments with how much smoke, water, fire, like all these different elements, while also having a digital character sitting right next to a real life human being, and they're interacting, sometimes even touching. It's mind-blowing how great that film looks. I don't think it's the end of where our visual effects will go, but I think it's definitely worth and should win for best visual effects. But Ben, tell me I'm wrong. What did you pick here?
So, I kind of agree that Top Gun Maverick should win, and I want it to win. And I'm kind of leaning towards that. I think it will win still. I think just like everything around it, the practical, like that's the difference, is that this is practical effects almost. Most of it is practical effects, whereas, Avatar is mostly digitized and animated. And I wanted to go back and look at visual effects like we did with the costume design and be like, oh, well, sequels don't usually win visual effects, but all 3 Lord of the Rings swept 3 years in a row. So, and Cameron, Titanic won for best visual effects. Terminator 2 won for visual effects. The Abyss did. People love giving him that award. Star Wars won multiple visual effects, so... Oh, man, this is a tough one, but actually, now looking at it, it does seem like Avatar probably will get it out of its 4 nominations. Like, is this the only win that it will get, you think?
It's possible. If I had to guess today, that's probably the only win that I would probably give it to. But
yeah. Pretty nutty. So, yeah, I'm going to agree that I'm still going to stick with that pick that Avatar: The Way of Water will win for best visual effects.
All right, let's move on to Best Production Design, with nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fablemans. Ben, who do you think will win Best Production Design, and who do you want to win?
So I stupidly just put my foot in my mouth saying, oh, will Avatar win only one? And then for my pick that I put before for production design, I'm looking at my notes, and I had put that. I was like, oh, yeah, Avatar will win. And I don't think that's accurate. I think I'm still, like, conflicted on this. I want Babylon to win. I think the production design of Babylon is flawless. It brings you right into this feel of 1920s. It captures the idea of Hollywood not being the rolling city that we think of L.A. and all that surrounding area today. It was very much farmland and dirt that a lot of these movies were made. And I don't think people truly understand that or saw that. So it's getting to see that. And then everything else being brought into it, all the cool old movie posters seeing in that. That's what I want to win. And I think I'm going to stick with that. I think Babylon will win production design. It wouldn't... Okay. If the Oscar voters didn't like it as much as like people say it is, or people don't love it, criticize it, then why is it here? Why does it have so many multiple nominations?
I don't think you're crazy. That is my pick for wanting to win. I think Babylon does such a great job of bringing this kind of forgotten past to life once again. And I don't think I really thought about a location more in any film that I've seen this year than I really thought about, and I still think about that house, like that insane party house, which I'm forgetting who supposedly is that house, based on like the old stories of the past. But man, I've thought about that party scene, and I've thought about that house and the elaborate design and all the people coming in, the epic, beautiful entrance that you have, filled with elephant shit probably, and it smelled probably awful like booze and cocaine. But what an amazing production design of a film that really brings to life just the forgotten world and the forgotten LA. And I think Hollywood does love, recreating the past, and they love getting to see that again. But I don't think it's going to win, because I think, like you said, the Academy has been loving Elvis, and they've been loving different scenes and different screenings that they've been showing of Elvis. And I really think Elvis is going to win for Best Production Design. There's not really a moment in that film that doesn't really feel believable and lived in terms of its production design and its design of the eras, starting in like the late 50s going all the way up until the 80s. It does such a great job of taking us through not only his life, his world, but also the different worlds that kind of change around him. So I'm going with Elvis for Best Production Design.
Moving on to Best Original Song, the nominees are This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once, Naatu from RRR, Lift Me Up from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, and Applause from Tell It Like a Woman. John, what do you want to win, and what will win for Best Original Song?
Well, I love my girl Riri, and I love the music of Thames, who helped produce and I think did some backup vocals for Lift Me Up from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It is such a gorgeous, beautiful song that I think is such a great tribute to the legacy of Black Panther that, we've lost with Chadwick Boseman, and it's such a beautiful, touching song that just gives me goosebumps. Then I still listen to it to this day, and I think it goes great with the film itself being all about grief. But I think the love for RRR, it being kind of somewhat a musical in moments and having such great dance scenes, I think Naatu is going to win for Best Original Song, just because I think not only are we going to have such a great time listening to that song at the actual award show and they present it and they do the actual live performances, but I think it's a film that won't get that much love, and a lot of people have talked about it this year. And I think a lot of people have talked about this specific song because of the great dance number that we get to see. So this is a hard category, though. I mean, Lady Gaga in there, and she's kind of become this Academy royalty in a way where people love her and they love seeing her kind of bring in the Academy Award, and maybe she gets a EGOT eventually in her career. There's a possibility there. But Ben, tell me what you think. What would you choose for Best Original Song, and what do you think will win?
So I don't know. None of these really jumped out to me as like, this is a weird year. There wasn't like that big song, at least in my eyes. And one of the big things I'm missing, and I have to admit this, I have not seen RRR yet, which I know I have to see. I'm going to see it now. It's like on, well, once I like know what gets nominated, and I know this, I for sure knew this was going to get nominated, just didn't have the time to see it, so I will. So I don't know. I kind of throw my hands up. One thing I want to note before I give who I think will win, though, is that Diane Warren is constantly getting nominated in this category. I just looked it up. This is the 6th year in a row she's been nominated for Best Original Song. Has not won. She's never won an Oscar. She got an honorary award, I think, because people were like, oh, we got to give her something. Is this the year Diane Warren gets it? I don't know.
That would be out of nowhere. Would be out of nowhere. But what I think will win, and just from what is the Golden Globes this one? Naatu from RRR. Everyone seems to be talking about it. Seems like a fun number. I'm just going to go out on a limb and just say that will win. But without even watching it. That's just how sure I am of it, All right, let's keep moving on to the Best International Feature Film, where we have The Quiet Girl, EO, Close, Argentina 1985, and All Quiet on the Western Front. So, in fact, I've never seen any of these films. I think you've partially seen All Quiet on the Western Front, but who do you think might win? Who do you think will win? Or what are your overall thoughts of Best International Feature Film?
Yeah, so I turned on All Quiet on the Western Front at like 11 o'clock at night, like during a weekday, like before work the next day, started watching it, realized that it wasn't actually in English, that it actually was a German movie. And so I had watched like half the movie in like dubbed, and I was like, this just feels wrong right now. And I tried to watch it in with the subtitles, and then it was so late at night, I was just like, I ruined the experience. So I got to rewatch it. But I loved what I did see. I was very into it. I absolutely incredible. And just based off of the 9 nominations it got, and it's in Best Picture, it has to win for Best International Feature Film. I think that it was the last few years, and it seems to still track. The movie that is nominated or that wins Best International Feature Film is also a Best Picture nominee. It's happened the last several years. So it just seems very obvious. All Quiet on the Western Front, that could win Best International Feature Film. So, John,
I think that's a great choice.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tricky topic because one of my favorite films of the year is not even on this list. And it is such a good film that I thought it would be nominated for Best Picture. I thought it would be the winner of Best International Feature Film. And it's not even here, and that's Decision to Leave, a Korean film. What an amazing film that I'm kind of shocked that it's not here. And I've heard such great things about all these films, and I can't say because I haven't seen any of them that you should remove one for this, but I'm just kind of blown away that it's not here at all. I really, really love that film. It's by such a prestigious director, and I just thought it would be here just off of how amazing it was, how great the cinematic experience was. It was such an original film, too, that was a simple story of, a simple murder mystery that just is expanded into something so much more complex and interesting than what it was, or what it started out as. But I've heard so much about EO, a film about a circus donkey. Like, what a crazy concept. And I heard it's really, really great and has no right being that great about a movie about a donkey. So I think that has a possibility. I mean, I think every option here, this is a really toss-up category. But like you said, I think if I really had to pick who will win, I think it's got to be All Quiet on the Western Front because it is all over the Academy Awards this year. And I don't think anyone really expected that. And we are some of the few people who were kind of saying this is a great film. It looks great. You watched part of it and said like this is a must see. I'm disappointed that I hadn't seen it, since we have our own little history with it already. But,
yeah, we saw.
I'm
we
excited.
talked about the original, and I think like the fact that the original isn't even talked about like so much with this movie being brought up. What was it? I think it's the 3rd film all time to be nominated. Well, actually, maybe this is more prize for Best Picture. So I'll just say right now, but that All Quiet on the Western Front is the 3rd film that to be nominated that is a remake of a Best Picture winner. The other 2 are Mutiny on the Bounty and West Side Story. So, and I kind of felt this way. I think I talked about this when we talked about last year's Oscars, about this like repeat of Best Picture winners because they're successful. It's just going to keep happening. They're going to keep remaking these movies. But and this one seemed to really work out in a very surprising way. But John, I want to ask you, like, why isn't RRR here? Like, it feels like that movie was so popular and so big, but it's not getting that recognition. Doesn't that feel like kind of odd?
It does. I think a lot of people would have expected it to be here. There are some people even trying to champion it for even Best Picture nominees. So I don't know. I've seen RRR. I think it's a great time. I think it's a really fun time. I don't really know if I can relate it to an American film off the top of my head, but it's basically like a buddy action film in a way, and that makes it sound a lot more humorous than it is. It's a very self-serious film, yet knows like when to have a good time, have fun, and take a breather. But it's hard to compare. I think I don't know, I could imagine a lot of American Academy voters just being like, I don't know what to expect of this. Like, yeah. It is so out there, and it's not considered a Bollywood film. I think it's just considered an Indian film. But I am shocked because there's such a big rally cry from the online community, and I think it's a great instance to show that, like, yes, the film community online is not the same as the Academy. The Academy doesn't probably actively, show off their opinions and publicly announce it. I'm sure there's some people in the Academy that are more vocal and public than others, but the film Twitter sphere and the letterbox, accounts that like love to praise RRR, it's just not the Academy. And I think it really just comes down to the difference of voters. There's probably a lot of older voters in the Academy still that look at RRR as just being too much for them, I would imagine. But it is a great film. I think everyone should go watch it because it's a great time. It is shocking, though, and it just really makes me want to watch The Quiet Girl or EO or Close in Argentina 1985 because, man, if it's beating out Decision to Leave and RRR, they have to be some pretty great films. So I'm excited to watch those, hopefully, maybe before the actual awards on March 12th. But let's keep moving on to Best Film Editing. And the nominations are The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. Ben, who do you think will win and who do you want to win?
So this is like the one category I think that where I feel like the most love for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love that movie. I think that when I saw this movie, and I still believe it, like that editing must have been intense. Having to combine all the worlds, constantly going back and forth, the different like formats that each of them of like the different like multiverses were shown on, like that one sequence where it's like it's Michelle Yeoh's character. There had to be like 100 cuts, 100 different like faces, like put there, and like the precision to do all that, like whether that's on film or through an editing software like Premiere, or what Final Cut, Avid. That's an incredibly hard task to have to pull off and do. And so I think the precision of that movie, the way it's paced, how it jumps into it, all the different angles, just such a well-edited movie. So that's what I want, and that's what I think will win. I think that this movie like stood out from that because of the editing. So that's what I want, and I think that will win. John, but what do you want, and what will win for Best Film Editing?
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once has a great chance of winning. I think it's a tough one. It is a really, really tough one. I obviously love the editing of that. I think it's one of those films that probably, I think for sure out of our nominations here, it's probably the lowest budget, and I think the editing of that film does such a great job of making that film feel bigger, feel more expensive, feel so much grander and epic than I think it would have been in the hands of a worse or less superior editor here. But this is a real toss-up for me. I mean, I think if I really had to pick any just right now, looking at the list, I think it would be Elvis for me, just because that movie is really made in the editing. There is such a rapid, like breakneck pace of that film. Even the first like 5 minutes, you're in for like just a treat of editing. The amount of like insane transitions, the like fade in and out of all these different scenes, the crazy neon lights that they kind of like have flashing. It really tries to portray the life of Elvis and try to put the viewer in the shoes of what it would like to be this person who is so much bigger than life and who just like had a life that just wouldn't stop. It was just, ride after ride and light after light. And I think it did a great job of like utilizing the editing and trying to put us in his shoes in a way. But man, this is such a hard one. Because I think when you look at like traditional editing, like from the Banshees of Inisherin, it's a great, really well-made, constructed film. I think when you look at the other side of things and something that's a little more experimental than the rest of the films here, you look at like something like Tar, who I think the film editing is slow and methodical and very precise. And it's that kind of editing that makes you question like certain shots and certain choices of why would we cut to this moment now? Why are we holding on this moment for a long time? I think it makes you question a lot as the viewer. But I think also Top Gun, I mean, I think we can't go without saying just how difficult it was probably to construct that movie's action scenes. And especially the scenes that involve 6 or I forget 8 different jets at once. The cohesiveness of showing where they physically are in a space, cutting to inside of the cockpit, and how they're having conversations when they're not even in the same space. There's a lot of hard work that probably went into constructing those flying scenes and making them feel compelling in a way that I think is just not something we see very often.
Looking ahead to Best Documentary Short Film, the nominees are The Elephant Whisperers, Howlett, How Do You Measure a Year, The Martha Mitchell Effect, and Stranger at the Gate. We have not seen any of these movies, so we're not going to give picks on these, but very excited to go watch them. Looking ahead to Best Documentary Feature Film, nominees are All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and Navani. So I've seen actually parts of Fire of Love. Werner Herzog did like a requiem of it, like just like an interesting edit that I saw, but it's not that exact movie. But I haven't seen the rest of these. John, have you seen any of the best documentary feature films nominated this year?
I think I've only heard about Fire of Love, which really seemed like a fascinating story, and it's a film that I've heard people even talk about like outside of the filmy kind of world. So just jumping off a name, that's kind of what I would jump to. Fire of Love. It's just such an interesting story, and of course you're going to get such crazy visuals from those volcanoes that they study. But no, yeah, I just one of those things where I just don't watch enough documentary films. It's just not my bag, and I have nothing against documentaries. I just love fiction. I love storytelling, and I love stories, and you definitely get that out of documentaries. I think my partner does a great job of helping me introduce me to more documentaries, even though they're mainly murder themed or drug related, or But I do have I just love shows. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I love shows that are telling true stories. When I think of this Chippendale show that came out recently, the Theranos show, the Dropout, all these shows about like real life stories and business people. For some reason, I love when they dramatize them. Sometimes they're not that great. Sometimes they're just average or just okay, but I'm addicted to them. I don't know what it is. I love watching shows about failed companies. It's fascinating. But anyway, that's completely not related. Let's talk about best cinematography this year, Ben. The nominees are Tar, Empire of Light, Elvis, Bardo, False Chronicle of Handful of Truths, and All Quiet on the Western Front. Ben, who do you want to win for best cinematography, and who do you think will win?
So let me just start out by saying, like, what the hell is going on? Like, when I was watching that live stream when they announced this, and I was like, what? That's not what I thought would be there. I mean, like, yeah, I was hoping like Empire of Light would be there. Yeah, Elvis I thought had a chance, but I didn't think Tar would. I didn't think All Quiet on the Western Front, and I haven't seen Bardo, but I know a lot of people that don't like Bardo. I thought like Top Gun would be there. I thought Avatar would be there. I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once would have there. I thought the Fablemans had a shot at getting best cinematography. So I was completely taken aback. First off, I love Empire of Light. I hope that would actually get nominated. I was actually excited when I saw that. I gave a little cheer for that. So I was excited for that. I love the look of that movie, the style. I mean, it's Roger Deakins. So what are we really talking about? We're talking about like the best at his craft. But giving such a subtle, emotional film, like just totally like not what you would put in Roger Deakins' like filmography in terms of what you'd expect to have, especially coming off of like 2 wins of Blade Runner 2049 and 1917. So he comes back with Empire of Light with Sam Mendes, and I absolutely love the look of this movie. It's beautifully shot. So I want it to win. But then I start thinking, okay, well, now what will win? I don't think enough people saw it. I think Elvis has a really good shot, but I think, I don't know, sometimes I didn't love the Elvis cinematography as much as I loved everything else about it. So I'm putting my eggs into the All Quiet on Western Front basket. Again, it got 9 nominations. No one expected it, and it's a really great looking film. It's another war movie. Best cinematography goes to a lot of war movies. They love that look, all the dirt and grit. So, and the shot choices are really fantastic in this. So I'm going to go out on a limb. All Quiet on the Western Front will win best cinematography, but that can change very quickly, and who knows what I'll say come Oscar night. But John, what do you think? What do you want to win, and what do you think will win for best cinematography?
I don't think that's a crazy choice. I still think out of 40 episodes, 40 best pictures that we've seen, All Quiet on the Western Front, the original, is still one of the best shot films, and I imagine they take a lot from that film and kind of expand on it, modernize it, and they probably do some incredible stuff with those war scenes because they have to. They have to kind of honor that original film. But what I would want, Elvis, man, Baz Luhrmann is just a crazy man, and I don't know if this is the same cinematographer, Mandy Walker, who's kind of worked with him in the past, but I love his just nonstop energy and his like whip and breakneck pace, and that goes directly with his cinematography as well, where the camera is flying around. It can't even keep up with you. It's just nonstop, and it's just keeping the film going and going and going. I think it's a great addition to the film that just helps it not feel slow and not feel too much of a film. I think it's a longer film, over 2 hours, but it really flies by from the cinematography. But what do I think will win? And this is a random one. I think Roger Deakins' Empire of Light. I mean, he's won before. I think his time, at least for now, since Empire of Light is just not the most talked about film, is kind of past. I think All Quiet on the Western Front is a good choice, but I just don't think enough people have seen it to really praise it. But a film that I think people have really praised and will praise more is Tar. And I really love the cinematography of that. I think it matches our protagonist perfectly with this kind of cold, blue, icy steel look and the very precise precision of its cinematography. I mean, even the driving scenes of this movie are so beautiful and like have no right looking as good as they do. I think you could maybe argue that it looks a little too much like a commercial at times with the kind of look of the film and it's how stylized and slick everything is, but I thought it was damn beautiful and definitely worthy of an Oscar. Let's keep moving on to Best Original Screenplay, with the nominees being The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Ben, who do you want to win, and who do you think will win?
So I want The Fablemans to win for Best Original Screenplay. More of just because it, Spielberg, we got this. Hearing, heard an interview of him talking about the process. Him and Kushner did a lot of Zooms during the pandemic. This was a project he worked on during that time. It was an emotional process. It was very difficult to have to go through and think about this stuff and think about his childhood and just because of how emotional it was, and then to bring it to life on screen. It's beautifully written, beautifully told. So that's what I want to win, but it seems like Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win Best Original Screenplay just because of the new idea, the new just like approach to it, the how different it is, how they're able to identify all the different versions of the main characters. So that one, it just feels like the momentum is just carrying it. So I'm going to give that one to Everything Everywhere All at Once. But John, what do you want and what do you think will win for Best Original Screenplay?
I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is gorgeous. That's probably what I would pick for my personal choice of what I would want to win. I just want to see the Daniels up on stage, man, in any way possible. If they win this or directing, it'll be such a dream for me. I think that would just warm my heart so much. These two guys that just come off of making this like movie about a dead body that farts and no one took it seriously, and that movie's so beautiful. So great. And they come back with Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's just as bombastic and crazy and all over the place. Man, I absolutely loved it. But I don't think it's going to win. I think the Academy freaking loves Martin McDonagh, and I think they love Banshees of Inisherin, and I think they love his writing. I mean, his voice shines in this film and these characters, and it's a story that I think people keep talking about. I've talked to people in my family who are just like, it's such an interesting story. Like, it was so sad, but also like hopeful and charming in some ways. And it's a tough one though. I think people really love Todd Field's Tar. He doesn't make films very often, and people have been really praising how subtle this is. And it's a film about cancel culture in a way that like people are just. It's so subtle that people are like barely even talking about this movie. People barely even saw this movie, but it is in a way about cancel culture. And maybe they should have sold the movie Tar on that more. I think it would have gotten some more eyeballs on it. But I think The Banshees of Inisherin is going to win for Best Original Screenplay. I think it's a truly wonderful story that is also very character driven and just has that voice. It has that specific voice that you just don't see in any of these other picks. I think you have such crazy, wonderful story. It's like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and the subtlety of Tar and the absurdity of Triangle of Sadness and the personal connection with the Fablemans. But I don't think you have a unique voice on the same level of Banshees of Inisherin. So I'm going with the Banshees.
Moving on now to Best Adapted Screenplay. The nominees are Women Talking, Top Gun Maverick, Living, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, and All Quiet on the Western Front. John, what do you want and what do you think will win for Best Adapted Screenplay?
Man, this is a tough one. I think Top Gun being here at all is pretty astonishing. I mean, you're taking these characters like 30 plus years later, trying to revive them in some way. I think it's kind of ridiculous that Top Gun Maverick is here. No way do I think it's a poorly written film. Is it a bad story or anything? I don't think it's negative in any way, but like, you really couldn't think of another well-written film to kind of put in here? Okay, that's fine. Whatever. That's fine. But I want it to win. No, I'm kidding. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. I also want to talk about. Yeah. I also want to talk about Glass Onion. I mean, I think it's pretty astonishing that this is even here. I think for some people, Glass Onion not being more on these nominations is kind of disappointing and kind of surprising. I didn't really think it was on that kind of Oscar caliber level. I think it was a fun, great mystery. I hope he makes more. I can't wait to see more from Rian Johnson. But I don't really think he fits that much into what is normally considered worthy and what are classic kind of Academy pictures, but I'm wrong. Here he is nominated for Glass Onion, and I think the reason why he's nominated is because of how relevant and right on the nose that film is. You know, I don't think it's that elegant in terms of the way it's presented, but I think it's definitely has its finger on the pulse and almost predicted the future in some sort of ways. But everyone's been talking about Sarah Polley and Women Talking and talking about how great that not only the performances but the writing is. So I really think Women Talking is going to win. If I had to pick a film here, I haven't even seen Living, but I love Ikaru, the film that it's based on, the Japanese film. It is one of my favorite films of all time. So if I just had to pick one as what I would want to win without even seeing the movie, or to really want to go out and see it, I'm going to pick Living. Ben, what do you want to win and what do you think will win?
So it's funny that you say Living because that's what I want to win. I loved Living. I thought it had the most heart. It had the best soul, especially of all these nominees. It was just truly a tender story. And I've talked about this before. What does it mean to be the best adapted screenplay? Is it just the best screenplay that is adapted, or is it the best adaptation of the original material? And this is such a great adaptation to it, putting it to British culture, modernizing it, but not really modernizing because it still takes place in the 50s, but it has just this like really like great feel to it. So I loved Living, but I don't think it will win. What I think will win is Women Talking, and I'm not a huge fan of Women Talking. I saw the movie. It just didn't have that like impact that I thought it would have on me. I actually thought the writing was kind of its downfall in some of the ways. I thought the performances were really good, but I felt like sometimes the writing wasn't very balanced, that it was trying to be like, it keeps it all in one setting for most of the story, and I know it's like how it's supposed to go, but it just didn't like translate as well to me as other stuff. So I liked the movie, didn't love it, but I think that it will win Best Adapted Screenplay. But moving on to Best Supporting Actress, the nominees are Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Kerry Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. John, who do you want and who will win for Best Supporting Actress?
Man, what a great category this year. Seeing Stephanie Hsu on here is just crazy. I mean, to see her and Jamie Lee Curtis both from the same film, that doesn't happen very often, as we know and as we've seen through the history. I mean, I can't believe Jamie Lee Curtis made this list. It is crazy how she's been kind of promoting this film, and to her credit, I mean, I think she is part of the reason why this film is on the level that it is. I think she has kind of voiced this film and talked about how great it is, and she's even been so open and honest about the production of Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she was on the film and didn't really understand what was happening. Like, didn't really understand what they were trying to do, didn't really see the full vision. But that's just what's so wonderful about filmmaking, is it's all made in the edit and constructed after the fact. But she gives such a wild, lovely performance that I just don't think we're used to seeing from Jamie Lee Curtis. But I'm going to go with who I would want and who I think is also going to win. No, Angela Bassett's going to win. I think most people have kind of seen this coming for a while. I think she kind of carries Black Panther and the franchise forward. She is such a strong, just powerful presence that we just don't have enough like female voices and female characters that are this like dominant and powerful, that are leading an entire country in like the biggest, strongest kind of nation in the world of the MCU. It's fascinating, and she gives such an amazing performance. Spoiler, I wish she was not killed, because I wish we could see her again in the third Black Panther movie. But I think it's a great way to honor the series and the kind of film. It may not win any other award, but I think her winning is a huge deal, not only for Marvel and the MCU, but it's just a great deal for the industry to have this wonderful character and this wonderful actress that everyone seems to really love win. So that's who I think will win. But who I personally want to win is Hong Chow from The Whale. I just saw it, like I said, recently, and she is I won't say she's the emotional core, but she's the emotional anchor in a way. Like, this movie does not work without her performance, and she is such an interesting, complex character who you see and totally relate to on either side, and gives just an amazing performance, and a performance that is 1000% about grief, but both, past grief and current grief. It's a really, really powerful, really amazing performance. One of the best I've seen all year. But Ben, tell me, who do you think will win, and who do you want to win for Best Supporting Actress?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting category, and when the nominations came out, I was a little surprised because there was no women talking nominations. It seemed like those would be shoo-ins, that we would have a couple of nominations from the movie, and not just supporting actress, but also actress, and it got snubbed. So I really want Hong Chow to win. I think she does give just such a great emotional performance. It would really, I think, legitimize that movie to just have one win like that. Just because she's so great, she's just as good as Brendan Fraser. Carrie Condon's great in the Banshees of Inisherin, and we talked about Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But yeah, the momentum for Angela Bassett, she's a powerhouse in the movie, she's a powerhouse in the film industry. It would be a great moment for Marvel to really hang their hat on. I think it could happen, and it seems like it's going to happen, that Angela Bassett will win. So shocking. I would not have, when we watched the movie, it was so good. It was oh, she's could get a sneaky nomination. Now it's she's gonna actually win the thing. So it's pretty crazy,
right?
It's absolutely crazy. So moving on though to Best Supporting Actor, our nominees are Brendan Gleeson from the Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry from Causeway, Judd Hirsch from the Fablemans, Barry Keoghan from the Banshees of Inisherin, and Ke Huy Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. John, who do you want? Who do you think will win for Best Supporting Actor?
I think it's going to be Quan, man. I think people just love him. They love this story. I think it's not only just how great his performance is and Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's also just how people love his charming, inspiring story, and how he's come 30 years later back and in the spotlight in one of the best films of the year, giving such a central performance that really he is, as much as it's a daughter and mother story, the film is very much about his relationship to his wife and their almost breaking of their marriage. And he just gives such a wonderful performance because he is a man who just doesn't have enough confidence. And I think he portrays that perfectly. And he just kind of twists it when you see his other iterations of his character. It's why the movie's so great. You see just how charming and what a handsome person he's kind of grown up into, and how he can play these variety of different roles. It's a really hard category. I think this is one of the hardest categories. I think one of the kind of interesting picks here is Brian Tyree Henry. I mean, I really love him on Atlanta. He's really phenomenal, but having Causeway, I'm pretty sure that's an Apple film. And that kind of came out of nowhere. Jennifer Lawrence starring, and I heard he's really great in that film, so that's really great to see that he's showing up for Best Supporting Actor. Obviously, Brendan Gleeson is iconic, such a great actor. I feel like he's already won before. Judd Hirsch, I mean, I don't know the stats on this, but this has to be one of the shortest inclusions for Best Supporting Actor ever, but what an incredible performance and moment in that movie. And Barry Keoghan, I mean, God, what an amazing actor. I think he's becoming our new Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's on that level, and I think he's just going to continue to blow us away. I'm excited. Hopefully we get to see him actually as the Joker, and he's amazing in Banshees of Inisherin. But I think Ke Huy Quan is going to win, and he deserves to win. And man, his Golden Globe speech was amazing. All of his speeches that we've seen him give so far have been so charming and adorable and sweet. But oh man, I can't wait for his Oscar speech, man. I think this may be the most definite lock. I think some people might argue for Best Lead Actress next for the biggest lock. But Ben, tell me.
So, I looked it up to answer your question about the shortest supporting actor performance. It actually looks like it was Alan Arkin for Little Miss Sunshine at 14 minutes. And just to give some context, like Judi Dench won for 5 minutes in Shakespeare in Love, and Beatrice Straight also won for 5 minutes in Network. Mahershala Ali won Best Supporting Actor in Moonlight for 20 minutes. So Judd Hirsch, is between that 10-15 minute range. He steals the entire movie. I was talking to someone at work who's very into the Fablemans as well, and we agree, like, Judd Hirsch is just like, whoa, like, came out of nowhere. I can speak from a personal perspective that feels very much like many family members, and that of just a combination and just the inner monologue, and that's like one of the things I love about the writing in the Fablemans is like this feels like Spielberg had this inner monologue of what are you going to do for your art? What are you willing to put out there? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to go out there and be part of the circus, the entertainment, and be in the line of fire to create your art? Like, what are you willing to give? And so that's what Judd Hirsch brings to the movie. It's so good. It's not going to win, though. And then I really love Brendan Gleeson's performance as Banshees of Inisherin. Like, he is this just emotional core, this very real and authentic, take on life, and just, some people's take on, like, I'm going to grab life by the balls and make it my own. It can be very subtle sometimes, and that's the performance he gives. But it is going to be Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Hollywood loves him. He's on the press stories. Everyone's adoring him. It's going to be an exciting moment to have this kind of huge redemption arc from child star to really nothing to all of a sudden Oscar nominated, Oscar winning. And he's going to get a lot more roles just of how charismatic, how good he is at his role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's what I think will happen. But moving on to Best Lead Actress, our nominees are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. John, who do you want and will win for Best Lead Actress?
Man, I want Michelle Yeoh. God, I want her to win so freaking bad. She is the most defining performance for me this year from an actress. She is so powerful, and it's just, not only would this be such an honor for her to win for this film and just representing this film and being the core of this film, but her legacy and her history in film, and not only just our film but Chinese cinema as well, is just given so much, and she's literally put her body and life on the line. There's just not many people that are on her level of being action superstars and also being so great in dramatic roles. And man, she is just so good, and she plays just both sides, the loving mother and the hard ass who just needs to get her daughter in line. She balances them so perfectly while also exploring how diverse. She plays an alien, a baby. She does everything in this movie. It's such an amazing performance, and it would be such a great thing for the Academy to give it to something like this, because it truly is just the most acting you could probably do. But I think, sadly, Cate Blanchett's going to win because people love Cate Blanchett, and people have been talking about her performance in Tar so much, and I'm not being sarcastic. I love Cate Blanchett as well, and I love her performance in Tar. It centers the film. It's all about her, and it's all about this fake character that I thought was real, and they got me. They duped me hard. But I thought it was so real because it felt real, and her performance is just amazing. Just so, so great. Andrea Riseborough being on this list is a shock. I think that's one of the biggest surprises, I think, for everyone. For To Leslie being nominated for Best Lead Actress, that's just such a shock. I did not expect that as well. Michelle Williams, that's just... I think we could have had someone else there.
Yep.
Anna de Armas, I think, for Blonde is great. And I don't think that movie's great. I don't think it's even good. I think it's questionable in many ways. I won't go down the Blonde rabbit hole, but I think artistically, and what an amazing performance. I think she really dives deep into this, and she did put in a lot of work, and I think it shows. She gives a great performance and tries to hold that movie together. But Ben, who do you think will win for Best Lead Actress, and who do you want to win?
Yeah, so I want to take a quick second to talk about the Andrea Riseborough nomination because nobody expected her to be there. But then I think maybe like 2 weeks ago on film Twitter, it just seemed like all of a sudden people were just mentioning her because of the other people mentioning her, like other like notable actresses and actors who are part of the Oscars. And it's like, is she like how is she campaigning for this? Like, is she like asking like friends of hers? Because that seems to now be the consensus. What I've seen of people being like that she was able to like, yeah, get the help of friends to help campaign and get her this nomination. I haven't seen To Leslie. I now have to go see To Leslie. I've been told she actually is very good in To Leslie, and so that'd be great if she does get it. But it also seems like this was a huge campaign on her end within this inner circle group of people that was able to expand. So very fascinating. I would love to know more of those inner details. But who do I want to win? I want Michelle Yeoh to win. I would love to see this new representation for this crazy, I'm going to say this movie is a sci-fi movie, the sci-fi, grand scale movie, and she takes on so many different roles, the emotional weight she carries in the movie. She's fantastic. She's funny. She's serious and dramatic and just very, very great in this film. And at one point I thought Cate Blanchett will win this, but Michelle Yeoh is going to win this. It seems like the groundswell and support for her is at an all-time high. Everyone loves her. I think Michelle Yeoh goes in there and takes this Oscar. Looking now to Best Lead Actor, the nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nye for Living. John, who do you want and who do you think will win for Best Actor?
Well, first, right away, you haven't seen After Sun yet. You really need to see it now, especially with Paul Mescal being nominated. He gives such a great performance. It's a really interesting performance, and that is such a really fascinating film and such an experimental film, and it's I don't want to spoil it in any way, but it's in its way of storytelling is very different than I think any film that's on any of these nominations. And for it to be even nominated in any category, let alone Best Lead Actor, phenomenal. Really, really great, really wonderful performance. I gotta go with Brendan Fraser. I just loved his performance in The Whale. He plays such an interesting character, obviously not just from his size, but from who he is, the soft kind of human person that he is, and empathetic and caring, and just, man, I saw myself in a lot of that film, and I saw my family and my history and my lineage in a lot of that film. It was very, very impactful, and I think he just centers the entire film with his performance, and it's so complex in the way it kind of weaves and turns, and I really wish this was nominated for adaptation. I think it's one of my favorite, and I think one of the best written films of the year. But Brendan Fraser's performance is just, it's really unbelievable. I think Austin Butler is going to win for Elvis because, god damn it, everything's about Elvis. Even the death of his daughter now, I think, is probably giving Austin Butler another bump to win as well, because more people are just talking about Elvis. And it's a great performance, but it's hard because we're comparing two different performances that are, the classic Oscar performances, the makeup heavy, the in your face, you're going to know the acting. You know, you're going to see it directly right there, loud. They're going to be screaming. But I don't think that's what The Whale is for the majority of it. Yes, there's a perfect clip that we can all see, and I think in the trailers where he's screaming and pointing his hand, and it's a very dramatic, intense scene. But the majority of that film is just him, his body movements, the way he kind of can barely move around his house, but the way he also just twinges his, like, slowly turns his head, his eye movements. You know, he does so much with his body that some actors just don't even approach, let alone are in hundreds of pounds of prosthetics trying to be this character and really bring it to life. The movie just doesn't work at all without Brendan Fraser, and man, it's just great to see him on such a wonderful comeback and being loved and adored again. This is a really hard year. I've heard so much about Living and Bill Nye's performance in that, and Colin Farrell is just wonderful. I mean, if there is an acting award for, like, best work across multiple films, you know, with the 3 films that he was in this year, Colin Farrell would win it hands down. But, Ben, tell me, who do you think will win for Best Lead Actor, and who do you want to win?
Yeah, so I am agreeing that I want Brendan Fraser to win. I absolutely loved his performance in it, the eye movement, just how much thought he gave into all his movements, of his facial expressions, the emotions he's trying to give off. The voice control is incredible. So I love that performance. It's truly great, and it's a performance that should, like, win every year. But there's this vendetta against Aronofsky among critics, and, like, people just, like, gravitate towards, like, what the critics say, and critics are, you know, get this be like, oh, this movie isn't good, and all of a sudden now everyone wants to shit on it, but they love Brendan Fraser's performance, and it's just this, like, weird unequal balance. But he deserves to, like, win this outright. In terms of actually winning it, I've gone back and forth, but I actually think Colin Farrell is going to win this. I don't know. I feel like Austin Butler, like, you're probably right. Like, the Lisa Marie Presley recently dying will help Austin Butler. He's the good-looking guy. He's young. Colin Farrell's been here for a while. It's actually his first Oscar nomination, which is shocking. Like, everybody in the Best Actor category is...
I did not know that.
Yeah, so all 5 of the nominees are first-time nominees, which is the first time in the lead actor category since 35. So this is over 80 years that we're talking about. And there's 16 out of the 20, like, acting nominees among the 4 categories are all first-time nominees. So 16 new people that we're going to see at the Oscars, and that's a great thing. That's what people want to see, and it's a great thing to see. So I just think Colin Farrell, his life's work, being in the Batman certainly helped. I think that he's going to take it home, but I could be totally wrong. It could be Austin Butler, and I really hope I'm wrong just in general, because I hope Brendan Fraser wins. And if none of those win, Bill Nye, Living. So
great category, stacked, right?
Oh, incredibly stacked. But let's move on to Best Director. Nominees are Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, Daniel Kwan, Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fablemans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. John, who do you think will win, and who do you want to win for Best Director?
This brings up a very interesting question. The Daniels are credited, and I think screen credited as the Daniels, if I'm not mistaken, in their films. So it's interesting that they would have their full names here, and it wouldn't be based on the actual work. So does it have to be their legal born name, I would imagine?
I don't know. Because Lady Gaga gets nominated as Lady Gaga.
And that's not her real name.
No.
Right? So unless she changed that to her legal birth name.
I don't...
So that is fascinating.
Yeah.
That just made me think of that just now.
Yeah. Maybe it's just how it was submitted for, because there has to be, like, some person in an office for all these movies that's like, all right, we have to fill out our Oscar paperwork, and it's like, okay, I want Lady Gaga to be nominated. I want Daniel Kwan, Daniel Scheinert. I think it's just how it's like, it's bureaucracy shit.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere lost in the handwritten forms or typed out forms. But I want the Daniels to win. Like I said earlier, I just want them on stage. I think they deserve it. They're these small little music directors that just came out of nowhere and have made such a powerful impact on this industry, and not just in this industry, but the art form in general. Like, there's so many people that have just fallen in love with Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's beautiful storytelling, and I think it really came out at a perfect time after the pandemic, where so many people have gone through so many hardships. It's been really hard for families to kind of get through that and experience that. And a film about love and finding your center and finding who you are, and making a film that is truly trying to be about everything, about life, death, and all the in-betweens and cracks that you may trip over, is unbelievable. And it's so hard to pull off. Not only is it so hard to pull off in a screenplay, I imagine it's just impossible to think about how they made this movie, how they thought about it, how they even kind of got to the point of constructing it. But I think they're throwing a bone, and I think it's a last just nod to an incredible director. Some might say the best director of all time, which is Steven Spielberg for The Fablemans. I think, it's a film that I don't think many people are talking about online in the social sphere, and I'm sure the Academy is talking about it a lot more than, the online sphere is. But everyone knows Steven Spielberg. He's kind of been a part of our entire film life since we were born. He's been such an integral part of American history. You can't even just reduce it to film or TV or entertainment. He's truly become an icon of America and American filmmaking and art form and the American dream. There's just so much to say about Steven Spielberg, and The Fablemans is honoring his life, his career, his passion for filmmaking. And I think it would be not only a great send-off for Steven Spielberg and his career and nominations. Maybe he'll get nominated again in the future, but I think it would be just a great honor to go out by giving it to Spielberg. Ben, who do you think will win Best Director, and who do you want to win for Best Director?
So I want Steven Spielberg to win. I think that he deserves it. I think that this movie, going that deep into yourself, incredible feat. Also, just how it looks is incredible. How the actors, their performances in it are absolutely incredible. Just the command he has over it to be that, inward about himself, and to take that leap is an incredible thing to see for a director, for an artist. And he does. He as Judd Hirsch's character, what are you willing to do for your art? I'm willing to show my true life, my true self on film, and to tell a story that way. How I felt as a kid, how I felt as a teenager, how I felt falling in love with movies, how I felt watching the greatest show on earth. So I think it's a beautiful thing. He's the best. He's up there with the greats, and he deserves to stay up there. But momentum is killing him right now. And just, again, this Everything Everywhere All at Once train is going so hard. And the Daniels are going to walk away with that Best Director win. It's pretty incredible. It's unexplainable. I don't really know what to make of it. But I think that the Daniels will win for Best Director. Moving on to Best Picture. The nominees are Women Talking, Triangle of Sadness, Top Gun Maverick, Tar, The Fablemans, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Elvis, The Banshees of Inisherin, Avatar, The Way of Water, and All Quiet on the Western Front. John, who do you want to win Best Picture, and who do you think will win Best Picture?
I want Everything Everywhere All at Once to win Best Picture. I think it is a monumental film. It is so impressive. I think it has merged the amazing history that we've had of filmmaking with this new digital online world. And I know we're, 20 years into that, and, YouTube has been around for 15 years at least, something like that, maybe even 20 plus. But they've done such an amazing job at just showing how such a ragtag group of people can come together and make such a wonderful piece of art that is both accessible to everyone and anyone who watches it. You can watch this movie anywhere around the world and still understand the message of family and appreciating the one life that you're given. It is such a beautiful, beautiful film. And I think it's a film that will go on to be talked about and remembered fondly and people will look back and have posters on their wall of googly eyes, and their kids will be like, what is that poster? Like, I can't wait to see that movie with the googly eyes, and it'll be forever remembered and loved. But I just don't think the Academy is going to let a movie with butt plugs as a prominent scene to win Best Picture. And I'm saying that as a joke. I'm not saying that's that specifically. I just think Everything Everywhere All at Once has such a very distinct kind of sense of humor, a very sharp and aggressive sense of humor that is not prevalent throughout it, but there are very much moments where there's a lot of people that I don't think will be okay with some of the scenes and moments in this movie. Not that it's that explicit or out there. I just think it's a little too weird, you know, and everything bagel being the center of the world and ending the world. I just think it's too weird for some Academy voters. I think there's older people that just like watch that and they're like, what the hell am I watching? It's too much. And I just don't think it's gonna come across. And I think this may be a kind of year where votes get split. And I think there's a film on this list that I think any Academy voter can look at it and be convinced that that is cinema. That is an amazing film that tells an amazing story that transports you to a different kind of world, place, and time. And that's the Banshees of Inisherin. I think this movie is going to come out of nowhere. I think it's not going to get that many awards other than Best Picture. And I just think it's that classic like Academy vote that you'll just look at that movie, the amazing funny voices and the characters and the story that you still are like thinking about and arguing with your friends. I think it's going to win. But Ben, tell me I'm wrong. Who do you think is going to win?
So that's such a fascinating pick for Banshees of Inisherin for like what you think will win because of like a split kind of ballot. And I think I want to talk about that ballot and the process because it's a preferential balloting system. So they rank, you know, who you want to win. So there's like rounds of this. So basically you rank, you know, your 10 nominees and who you want to win. Like you'll put like, you know, I want Avatar first and blah, 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 blah. But then as the rounds and votes get counted, you eliminate movies less and less, and movies get more and more votes of like second or third place votes. And until one movie gets the majority of votes, no matter what, that's when it wins. And that has worked in the favor of some movies in the past. It seems like Green Book got the benefit of that when that won. So I think that could really play a big hand in this year. So with that, I want The Fablemans to win. I think The Fablemans has been and still is the best movie of the year. It has the best heart. It's genuine. It maybe being a Jewish person, it was really easy for me to get into and to understand and to relate extremely well as someone who loves film. I was like crying at some of the moments of how he, basically there's this one moment where the young Spielberg is trying to figure out how he's going to show like gunshots in the movie, and then when you realize and he figures it out that he pokes like holes in it and let the light through, the understanding of that art, it's such like a beautiful description and an honor to cinema that like isn't that what makes it great a best picture, that it's not only it's taking the art form and making its own and doing its own things, but it's also honoring it in so many ways and being unique to it. So I love The Fablemans. I want that to win. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once will win, though, because of that momentum, because of all the nominations. I just think that everyone really loves it and really wants to see something new and different to win. But then I do think about the older voters and still have that base and then also this rank system of voting. And I think that's actually going to help The Fablemans. I think The Fablemans is going to be a lot of people's numbers 2 or 3 because it's still loved, it's still well liked. Everyone still loves Spielberg. And I think that if it keeps on being put as like that top movie as like, oh, someone's 1, but this person, like these 10 people's 2s, all of a sudden that's going to start flipping it and it actually may work out in its favor. I don't know. I don't know the exact math and how it would all break down, the stats behind it. But I think it's a real possibility. So I think Everything Everywhere All at Once will win. Right now, that's just my pick I'm going for. We have well over a month. It's, March 12th is still over a month away from the time of recording and us talking and reacting to the nominations. So I think there's a lot of changes that can still happen. I think we made a lot of great picks, a lot of picks that are just like, we don't know what to make of these nominations. But there's a lot of movies that we still want to go see and are excited to see. And this is the best part of the Oscar season, is catching up, understanding what we missed and like how it all fits together to nail those ballots. So, John, I think that kind of wraps up our reaction to the 95th Oscars nominations. Anything else you want to hit on, touch on? Did we miss a movie at all? I don't think we did. We hit on all the categories.
No, I don't really think we missed anything, really. I'm really excited to see how this year turns out. I think there's going to be a couple big surprises. I think a couple random changes that we may just not expect. I'm excited to see just how the actual show plays out, how Jimmy Kimmel handles it, where we're kind of at in terms of viewership. Are we continuing to fall and fall like we have in the past? Is there anything that can kind of push us forward? Could Top Gun come out of nowhere and win Best Picture?
Please.
All of it could happen.
Please. I would love that. IMDb put out the Instagram post of oh, here are the Best Picture nominees with their IMDb ratings. And that is an 8.3. Top Gun Maverick is so high. People love that movie. Does not deserve to be as good as it is.
That is the ongoing theme, and I love that.
That is the ongoing theme. So I think that wraps it up. Thank you for listening. I'm Ben.
And I'm John.
And this is Worthy.
Thanks for listening to Worthy, the breakdown of every Best Picture winner from past to present. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on Instagram at Worthy Podcast, on Twitter at Worthy Pod, and on Facebook at Worthy Podcast. Any inquiries can be submitted to worthysubmissions@gmail.com. That's worthysubmissions@gmail.com.